Three, two, one. What's up, guys? How you doing? Welcome back to episode 3. We got to episode 3 now of the Arekkz Gaming Podcast, and today there are 3 of us for episode 3. I'm joined by none other than Vestmore and Riley. What's up, Dad? The boy Taylor. I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Really good. Thank you.
It's been a busy week. Yeah. It's been a busy week. We've been playing nothing but Division 2 basically all week, and that's going to be the theme of today's podcast. A lot of you guys have been like, yo, what do you think of the game? Should I check it out? Well, today, we're going to chat about it. We're going to talk about loads of stuff. And also, before we even get into there, I'm sure a lot of you guys know by now if you've seen videos and whatnot, but if you haven't, this is, of course, the growing Arekkz Gaming team. You've probably heard Vestmore's voice quite a bit. You've obviously heard Taylor's voice a lot a bit if you've been hearing the Division videos, but if you didn't know, get to know, Arekkz Gaming is not just me. There's also 2Six in Paradise. They'll be in a future episode, but today, chat with the video team. So, get used to their voices.
Yeah.
This will be the point where you guys are like, hey.
Hey, what's up?
All right. Anyway.
I'm sure, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, right. So we are right. So just to kind of set the scene. So we're going to talk about Division 2 today because we've been playing it all week. We got the early access version. I've been playing for since Monday. I don't even know what day it is anymore, right? It's literally that much of a blur. We've got through the campaign. We've got to endgame. We're working through world tiers. And we thought we'd just kind of chat about some of our initial impressions, what we like, some things that we would like to see fixed, improved, and kind of that sort of thing. So the other thing, also as well, rather interesting, is interesting perspective. Because obviously, if you guys have been following Division for a while, you know that myself and Taylor have been covering Division basically since the beginning, Division 1. Whereas Vest is coming in from a completely new standpoint. Division 2 was his first time in the series. So I thought it'd be kind of an interesting perspective today to do that. So I've rambled off. Let's begin. So let's start with initial impressions. So I'm actually really interested to hear, like, Vest, from your point of view, coming in completely fresh with no prior knowledge of Division 1. Like, and obviously you played a lot of looter shooters with us. So what were your initial impressions of the game?
Alright, so I'll be honest. I feel like this is the best one so far.
Yeah, okay.
Initial impressions, like I said, obviously haven't played Division 1, so I was just completely blown away by it. I don't know, I found it super polished. It was just everything you would expect, and it's kind of, I was even saying earlier in the week, it's kind of like, it feels weird to get excited about, like, you know, just a solid kind of like polished game, but like a lot of games have kind of been slipping, like in the games of as a service industry especially. So I think they've done a good job here, and personally, I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I think this is amazing. Yeah, fair enough. And Taylor, like, so obviously, you know, you've been with Division for like a long time. So like, knowing what we went from to like this now, like, what were your kind of initial thoughts going into number 2?
Well, like, it just feels like they've learned everything from the past one, included like all of the best bits, and then improved on it, and like giving us this like a very complete Division, and it's just that's the only way I can really explain it.
I can definitely I can to sort of echo what like Vest was saying as well, because it's right, like, you know, it is that sort of interesting genre where, like, you know, looter shooters come out. It's a genre that we all love, right? But then, you know, I think it's fair to say that nobody seems to sort of get it right, like, out the door. Like, you know, every single like looter shooter we like, whether it be Destiny, Anthem, Division, they've all had their fair share of problems. And obviously Division 1, you know, we know, having been there for a while, didn't necessarily have the kind of, it had a slightly rocky launch. It obviously went through like ups and downs and whatnot, but regardless, it was always like there was always a super solid foundation, and I was always confident. I was like, you know what, Division 1, like, it was a super solid game, and it's definitely one of those things where I thought, if given the opportunity to have like a sequel, I know they'll definitely like smash it out of the park. And honestly, I've been like super. It's funny for me because I went into Division 2, like, my hype for the game pre-launch, right? I was looking forward to it, but it was like a different kind of hype, because obviously when Division 1 came out, like, I'd never played it before, so I was like, yo, this is brand new, this is incredible. Whereas when it was Division 2, I was like, well, I already know what to expect from Division. Like, I already know I'm going to like this game. So my hype was a little bit more kind of contained pre-launch, and then when the game came out, it was just like, I mean, you can clearly see that they have 100% like learnt from like their previous mistakes, and there's a lot of kind of content in there. So let's kind of sort of start by talking about the content, because obviously we worked through the campaign first. I know we blitzed it, right? We blitzed it a fair bit, so we were done with the campaign on day 2, right? But there were some really cool parts in it. So Taylor, let's start with you, because like campaign wise, I know a lot of us kind of like we skip sort of through some of the story and whatnot, but there were some really cool missions, right? So like, how are you? How for people that want to play this game, maybe for the kind of the slightly more casual like campaign experience, like what were your standout moments for that?
Oh wow! So like the level design in this game, even in Division 1, like the level design was like exceptional. The graphics were really nice. It just looked a really good game. But in this one, it's just like they stepped up a level that I didn't even know was reachable.
Yeah.
So for example, the Air and Space Museum. I mean,
totally.
no spoilers, but that's incredible. Some of the rooms you go into. It's just every level we went into, there was like. You just had to sort of like slow down and think like, take this in, like this is somebody's work of art, and it felt like you were exploring that every time you went into a mission.
For sure.
Yeah, what about you, Vess? Like any sort of like standout moments like from missions or anything?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Air and Space Museum, there's like a couple of missions just where they put you in kind of like cool scenarios, you know? Without spoiling anything, again, just there's some cool scenarios where it's like, okay, cool, this could be an action movie. Like, a lot of the time I felt like I was going for an action movie in a way. And, you know, the environments, as you said, like, they felt very natural, but still it was just crazy. Like, every time you'd walk into a room, like, a lot of the time, it didn't feel boring. It wasn't like, okay, here's another corridor, here's another, like, atrium or whatever. It was like, okay, this is, like, a completely crazy tactical thing. It's like, okay, I could go over here, or I could go over here. Like, it was a really good level design.
I think that's I think that's sort of something that really impressed me, because, like, Division 1, like New York was super impressive, you know, what they did with it, but it kind of looked quite samey. And like, I've never been to Washington, right? So I have no context to what it's like. But playing through the game, there's so many different, you know, like thematically different areas in this one city. You know, you almost expect, based on Division 1, for like everything to look quite similar, but we're just in so many different areas. Like, if this was like an MMORPG, like a kind of more fantasy thing, you'd expect them to be like different biomes, right? You're kind of going to these completely different areas. And honestly, for me, a lot of the time, like I have an appreciation for, you know, for level design and things like that. But at the same time, a lot of especially in these games, when you're powering through, it's quite easy for you to almost just like have blinkers on and not notice that stuff. But so the fact that I was actually like in a few missions, and I would stop and be like, you know what, this is really, really cool. Like, I even messaged one of the guys that I know that works on like level design. I was like, yo, hats off to you, because this is like really good stuff. Yeah, Aerospace Museum definitely stands out. I don't want to kind of do spoilers, but like the final, I think it was the final mission. There's like
was a bunker one as well.
But yeah, that was
with
cool. Yeah,
the coloured blocks.
Yeah, that's the one. In fact, I guess that wasn't really a spoiler, because we got to show that for like pre-launch. But you literally just go in, and it's kind of like these little like coloured ice cube things, and just literally the very first room. Like, yo, man, this is really cool. So yeah, I mean, that like level design definitely was like really awesome. Like, on this, I will say on the story front, I didn't necessarily experience too much that, you know, because I was powering through. So I feel like when I'm powering through, I don't play these games for story, right? I'm sorry, right? I appreciate that, you know, I appreciate there's a lot of work that goes into the story, but I play these games to get to end game. But Vess, I know you're like you're a lore man.
Lore master.
Like, what did you get from story in this?
Well, I mean, I did watch a lot of the cutscenes, and I was trying to kind of piece it together in my head as much as I could, while obviously, you know, we were trying to kind of get it done as quickly as possible. But yeah, I mean, you know, nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
I would say it was certainly workable. I don't know, it just kind of felt like a situation. It didn't feel like an epic, grasping, kind of sweeping adventure or anything like that. It just kind of felt like, all right, this thing's kind of happening. It was very grounded in reality, like most of the game is, really, to be honest.
That's
like,
fair
you know,
enough.
Like,
Like, but we're supposed to be getting. I suppose maybe it'll get told more, because we are supposed to, like, Taylor, you'll probably know at that point, but like, we're supposed to be getting expansions to the story, right? That comes in.
So there's 3 free episodes in year 1, and they're going to bring story-driven content as well.
Okay, so I guess maybe that's partly why, like, having sort of played through, like, we necessarily didn't really feel like we got the conclusion to a story, because I guess it's not done yet, right? So I suppose maybe there's that feeling. Yeah, but fair enough. Well, I mean, but obviously, I think it's fair to say a lot of us, like, we play these games for the gameplay, right? We're playing looter shooters because we like loot, we like the gameplay. So let's touch on that, because there are some fundamental changes, obviously, going into Division 2 versus number 1. Like, one of the most notable ones being like the armor system. That, you know, there's a lot of things that force you more so into cover, which I apparently still don't know how to do. But like, I mean, overall gameplay, like, I once I finally started to get out of my Division 1 mindset, like, I've started to really sort of like enjoy the flow of combat again. Like I think I've started to find my play style again and sort of find how I can actually kind of like enjoy it. So it's definitely because Division's always been a very different one. Like it's funny because before Division launched, like everyone was always like, oh, you know, like Anthem or Division or like Destiny or this, and they're all very different games. So like as you said before, Division to a degree is much more grounded in reality, right? So you're not necessarily going to have like outlandish, insane abilities, but the gameplay's still like really, really solid. Like I think that's the most important thing. Like everything is just feels really polished, right? I mean, Vest, you were talking the other day about like how you were, you know, you're obviously starting to. I mean, you love your theory crafting, right? So you're already starting to think about builds and stuff. So like again, coming in as like a fresh player that's never really experienced Division before. Like how are you finding, finding the gameplay in this?
You know, honestly, it's great. Like I have always been like a big Ubisoft fan when it comes to sort of stuff like Splinter Cell and those kind of things, and it's kind of reminding me of that, like, but more, which is crazy. Like, so I've always loved like the kind of gunplay and the cover system in Splinter Cell games, and this just kind of expands on that for me. Yeah, I suppose it's probably the same in Division 1, but I didn't play. But yeah, just I don't know. It's just really solid kind of gameplay, I suppose. Like the gunplay feels good. Like I've been sitting at the back with the sniper, as I'm sure you should know. And it's just like when you pop someone in the head, like it's just so satisfying. Like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to really sum it up into words, to be honest. Yeah. It's it's just really satisfying gameplay. One thing that's really surprised me though, and one thing that I absolutely adore is the AI. Like the AI in this game is so smart. Like it is. I'm somewhat like I consider myself somewhat of a tactician when it comes to stuff. I love strategy games. I love my turn-based strategy games most of all. But like literally, I'm just getting flanked and stuff, and I'm like, I never think about this in FPSs or cover shooters because they don't do this. They're usually in front of me, like, and I just have to snipe or something. But yeah, there's people pushing you when you're low. They know, like, the enemies are just smart. Like I like that. Like it's super unique.
Yeah,
to be
fair.
Like,
yeah. And like Taylor, so what, I mean, how about you? Because obviously there are going from number 1, there are some some noticeable changes. So like, how are you kind of adapting to like the new playstyle and whatnot?
One thing I've got to like just call out because it's so good is the brand sets. Like just having one piece and getting a bonus from it. Like it just like although at the moment we've not really got like right at the end, so we can like really start like worrying about our builds, but already like you can see like things coming together, like all your different brand sets, how they're going to work with each other. So I love that they've like really worked on build diversity, because it did, like, admittedly it got like really quite stagnant towards the end of the Division 1. So the way they've combated that has just been perfect.
Yeah. And how are you finding skills? Because here's the interesting thing, right? It's funny because we've had like quite a lot of these discussions lately when it comes to talking about looter shooters, right? When, there's the typical kind of like comparison point, like something like Anthem is very ability driven, right? It's a game that, your abilities are basically always active. So it's much more about making you feel like a super powerful superhero, and your guns are kind of secondary, right? Whereas Division, there's obviously a lot of work that's gone into the weapons. But I always feel like, for me, I mean, in Division 2, I've found so far that I'm using my skills in a much more passive nature, right? For example, I've been taking the Reviver Hive just because I literally have it just so it gets me up when I go down, which happens basically all the time. So that's kind of useful. And then obviously I'm also having the healing one. So I've kind of just been, like, my skill choice. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that there's different ways to use it. But I've found for me that, like, it's almost... I've almost been forgetting about the skills a lot of the time because I've definitely kind of adopted a more sort of passive thing. Like, how do you guys find, like, have you found that you're using your skills enough, or do you feel like they don't feel as prevalent? Like, what do you think, Taylor?
So I've literally been glued to the Stinger Hive the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many cool things you can do with it, and like me and Vest have been like comboing on, he'll throw down his flashbang, and I'll make sure my Stinger's there. So, but yeah, I think I don't think they're like weaker in the Division 2, but I think because the Division 1 they're like so prominent, like everyone used like certain certain heals, always had the pulse. So I think like going from that and then going into a game where like everyone's sort of testing out the skills, seeing what like their play style is, I think maybe in a couple of weeks we'll see like I don't want to say the meta, but like the skills where people sort of gravitate towards.
Yeah, because I think there's this thing for me, like coming from Division 1, I think to like, I think back to all those builds that I make, like, like the sticky bomb build where you would always have sticky bomb. You could like rain that down and explode people all the time, or like I made the fire turret build because I like that. Whereas I haven't felt like I've been loving the weapons, right? I almost feel like I'm using the weapons more, but I just feel like I haven't been drawn towards a skill focused build yet. And maybe it's just because it's like I'm in the kind of infancy of the game. Maybe I haven't kind of got to that point yet. But like Vest, I mean, what do you think? I mean, like I know you've been kind of messing around with like the chem launcher and stuff, but
yeah, a little bit. So I mean, honestly, for the most part, it's more of the same of like what you guys are saying. I mean, I only put points into the other skills. Like, so I started with the assault drone and the stimulant hive, which is super fun. And basically, I didn't put points into any other skill. Like, I had all my skill points until endgame. Like, so I didn't really feel I needed them. But yeah, no, I would say like each skill is in a good spot where like you can like they augment or kind of enhance a playstyle. For me, like sitting at the back of the map, enhancement hive makes my assault rifle a laser, essentially pinpoint accurate. The assault drone, if I'm at the back, it can go and kill stuff that is in cover that I can't reach. Simple, right? I found that I was having an issue as a sniper killing armored units. Went to the chem launcher, and I've been super lucky, blessed, and essentially found 2 mods that increase my ammo for the chem launcher. So I've got 5 shots for the oxidizer variant, which just melts armor basically. So that just solves the problem for me basically. Yeah. So it's just, I find them to just kind of be almost like small ways to sort of like either reinforce kind of like a weakness you have, or as opposed to being like Anthem, like you were saying, where it's like, that's like the whole kind of build, you know?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess to a certain degree, that's probably what they were kind of thinking with their sort of design choice. Because I mean, obviously again in Division 1, there's like people always used to talk about like the chicken dance where you can kind of like run up on people's faces and stuff. Whereas like this one, and obviously the change to armor is designed to try and get you to use cover more. So I guess it's supposed to be probably more stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as you said, like Taylor as well. I guess in a few weeks, once people have started like messing around with more things, and obviously once who knows? I mean, we don't have access to like World Tier 5. We don't have access to gear sets yet, right? It could well be that when gear sets start dropping, they suddenly give us like insane bonuses that suddenly change the game on the skills, right? So I guess there's stuff we don't know yet, but fair enough. So what I want to talk about now, like obviously there's still a few more like cool things I want to talk about, but to kind of like balance it out, let's talk about a few things that like I want to address, because there's a couple of things that have bothered me throughout the game, right? So I've had like overall I've had like a great experience, but one of the things that I want to touch on is the armor for the enemies, right? More specifically, like the heavy shielded enemies. So one of the main complaints in Division 1 was obviously like quote unquote bullet spongy enemies, right? And that was a lot of the time, right? And like Vest, for you having like not necessarily played Division 1 too much, there were some enemies where it just didn't make sense. Like they'd basically be a human in like a t-shirt and they would take 2 clips to kill, and it's like that kind of doesn't make sense, right? But I feel like for the trash mobs, I feel like they've definitely got rid of that sort of bullet spongy feeling, because any of the guys in red health, they just go down like that, right? They're just done. My one gripe, right? And I hope this is something that they can kind of address, is that like when you have the big shielded guys, right? Like when you first start shooting them, you see that little broken shield icon, right? But it doesn't give you an actual shield bar, right? So you don't know if you're closer to breaking that shield. And then, for example, you start reloading, the shield closes back up to a regular one, and then you start firing again, and you're kind of just piling bullets into these guys, not knowing how soon until their armor is broken, right? And I feel like for me, that's more frustrating, because even though technically speaking, the enemies are not as spongy as they were before, those particular enemies feel more spongy because you don't know how soon until you've broken their armor. I feel like what I would almost like to see is just have it so that there's like a visible bar so I can see how long before their armor's broken, so that then I know what I'm putting my damage into, right? I don't know how you guys sort of like feel on that, but that was definitely like a problem point for me.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I mean, like my issue, that's why I picked up the oxidizer, because literally I'm sat here with a super powerful sniper putting what it says is like, I don't know, like 80,000, 200,000 damage into these bullet sponges multiple times. And I'm like, is the armor that strong? Am I doing something wrong? Like, I don't even know how armor works. Is it a damage threshold? Is it, amount of bullets hit? Like, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know how to deal with them other than the oxidizer, to be honest. So, like, that's another issue, is kind of clarifying how that works.
Sure. What about you, Taylor? Have you similar kind of thing, or?
I've got to agree with the armor thing for sure. I feel like the weak point system is a little bit confusing, because I think that's the idea behind them, is like you hit out their weak points and then you like get them in just like their vest or whatever it is, and then it's easy to take down. But it's like it's hard to see or hard to know what weak points you've got to aim for on certain enemies. So
Yeah. Some of them are super obvious, but yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the only things. But one big thing for me is the yellow names if you're in a clan.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times where like I've shot you or I've shot Vest, and I've realised I'm like, oh yeah, they're my team.
Literally, I think the other day, I don't think I have footage of it, thankfully, but I think the other day I actually picked up incendiary ammo, and I think I unloaded that into one of you as you ran through the door. I was like, yo, it's a yellow ball. I was like, oh no.
That's go on.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. Like, it tricked me maybe like once or twice near the beginning, but then like I'm colorblind, guys. Like that should be tricking me. Like, not like I'm over that now. Like,
I mean,
I understand as well. It is like a bit jarring.
I might be known for not being the most observant person when we're playing games, right? So like, if I just see a yellow bar, I'm gonna shoot at it. I thought I discovered the Vestmore and the Rylet like bosses, but no, I did not. Yeah. So what about you guys? Like, is there anything? I mean, so Vest, like, what about you? Have you got any kind of like gripes that have bothered you, or?
I mean, other than the sort of stuff we've already covered, and there's a couple bugs, obviously, but that's to be expected. Like, they can be forgiven for that. But other than that, not really. Like, it's been fairly smooth for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose fair enough. Yeah, I suppose coming in sort of like a fresh player, you're kind of more so in that sort of like initial phase of just everything's new, right? So
it's Wonderland, right? Like, literally.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, I suppose the one other thing for me, right, it's kind of it's a minor thing, and I've been kind of getting used to it, but it bugs me slightly. Is like the new manual skill activation for certain skills, right? So there's some things where I'm like, okay, cool, it makes sense, right? So for anyone that hasn't played it, just to kind of give context, like some of the skills, you press a button to like activate them, and then they'll come out, and then you have to like, there'll be like a target that will snap to an enemy, and you have to press a button again for it to react. So if you play Division 1, let's take something like a Seeker Mine, right? You drop it down, it just goes towards the enemy, it does the work for you. In this one, like the first time I use it, I drop it down, and it's just sitting by me. I'm like, are you going to do anything? I'm like, oh, wait, I need to press Q. And then there's some of them where like, okay, cool. I can appreciate that maybe having that control is cool because maybe you don't want it to like rush towards the first enemy. But then the other day when I threw down like the Reviver Hive to try and revive someone, and then the first time I'd ever used this, and I'm like, okay, cool, I've got you. And I ran away, and they're like, it hasn't got me up. I'm like, why do I have to press Q?
Yeah.
Like, I've clearly thrown the Reviver Hive on you because I want to revive you. I don't want to. There's no tactical advantage to waiting to revive you. Like literally. Yeah. I feel like I would like it if there was the option to either just toggle it so that you could have auto activation, or maybe just do a pass on the skills and be like, what makes sense, right? Like a Reviver Hive, if I'm going to throw it at someone, I don't want to press it again to revive them, right? Like I can't see a situation. If someone else has got an idea, let me know in the comments, but I can't see a situation where you would want to delay that button press, right? Like surely you just call into it and you get up. Yeah. So and that's thrown me off a couple of times, and also like whenever I'm using like the chem launcher to heal myself, sometimes I mean that's probably partly the like button press, but I'll press the button and instead of like double tapping, I'll press it once and then it just fires where I'm pointing. That's kind of one of the times. It's almost like that's the time where I want a manual confirmation, right? Because that when I press it and it looks there and it fires, I'm like, well, I didn't want to do that. So there's a weird kind of discrepancy there. So I mean, it's not a game breaker. It's not like this has ruined my experience, but it's kind of like a quality of life thing where I'm like, I feel like that's a bit of an odd sort of experience. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, similar sort of situation. Like right now, those are largely speaking my gripe points because it's true. Like it has had for like looter shooters, and I think if any of you guys have played these types of games before, you probably know stranger to like Destiny's had rocky launches, Division 1 had rocky launches, Anthem had rocky launches. Like it's kind of almost expected, and the fact that we've run through Division 2, and honestly, like hats off to them. Yeah, there've been a few bugs, there are a few things they've had to kind of work on, but largely speaking, it's been pretty smooth, right? Like we've had had a couple of crashes here and there, but largely speaking, we just got in, ran through, and the thing that's impressed me so much, right, is that there's just a lot of stuff to do, right? And I mean, we got through the campaign in a couple of days. And obviously we're working through world tiers right now, and there's just so much. And I mean, this was obviously part of their pre-launch spiel when they were like, we built the game with, we built the game backwards. We built the game with like end game in mind. And it's one thing to sort of like say that and hear PR people be like, this is what we want to do, but to actually see it now and realize just how much content there is in the game, I'm actually super impressed. I mean, like my map is still full of stuff, and yeah, I mean, sure, so some of it might not necessarily be like groundbreaking stuff. I mean, for example, we finished the campaign. The Black Tusk invade, I don't really think that's a spoiler because that was in the trailer. And then it's kind of basically like replay the same missions, but with different enemy configurations. But they kind of feel different enough, right? I mean, Taylor, you were saying the other day that like, some of the Black Tusk variants are they feel kind of different, right?
Yeah, so one really cool thing is like when me and Vest first started doing the invaded missions, we went to, I think it was Jefferson Trade Center, and like
That's right, yeah.
the outside was all changed. There's like different vehicles outside. There's like new, I don't know how to describe them, but rather than like the hyena signs or whatever it was, they'd like covered it with like Black Tusk stuff. So it wasn't just like plonking the faction into that mission. They'd like just changed the whole scenery, and like if you had done it at the start of the game, you would have gone down like corridor A or something. But now you're going down corridor B, and you've got like go different rooms. It makes it
feels
feel
living
like
and breathing, right?
Yeah, and it makes it feel like not like you're playing a second game, but it breaks up enough so it's not like, oh, I've got to do this mission again.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's I mean that's definitely fair to say. And I mean, how do you guys feel about the the strongholds? Because I think the strong. I mean, like overall, like, I've still enjoyed playing through them, but I feel like strongholds are one of those weird sort of things where they kind of just feel like missions to me, right? I feel like they were sort of marketed beforehand as like these super difficult things. And to be fair, to be clear, like, at the point of recording this podcast, we are currently grinding. Like by the time you're watching this podcast, we'll be World Tier 4. By the time but at the time of recording it, we're only World Tier 2. So fair enough. Maybe when we do a World Tier 4 on challenging difficulty, maybe they are. But I just feel like strongholds to me don't feel any different than missions, right? I don't know, like Vest, what do you like think on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've certainly got a more kind of dungeon feel to them, but there's nothing like crazy. Like, there's nothing crazy that kind of differentiates.
There's no real like mechanical differences, right? It's largely speaking just like slightly longer, couple more bosses, maybe like So I guess strongholds are in that weird point where like. I mean, it's more content to do, right? It's not a kind of complaint point, right? It's more stuff for us to do, but I almost feel like you could probably just call them another mission, and then no one would be would notice any difference, right? Yeah, so that's one sort of thing. But one thing that like I think we've all been like super enjoying this, and this is the kind of stuff that I love in games like this, right? It's like the mystery stuff, like so.
Yes.
We have spent the week, right, trying to find all these hunter masks. Now, for those of you guys, if you haven't seen the videos on the channel, then fair enough. But there's some ways to kind of spawn some bosses in the world, some hunter bosses, and the way behind it is it's crazy, right? There's like the levels of this is sort of like back to if you played like Destiny when there were sort of like exotic weapons and trying to sort of find things like that. It kind of gives me that vibe, right? And this is the stuff that I love in games. Like there are some murals in the world that have got some ciphertext on, and then if you decipher that ciphertext, it gives you like a riddle. And then that kind of correlates to an action you have to do in the world. So simple, some things are like, you go down like one of them, we go down a sewer, you activate a laptop, you go back somewhere else and shoot a light bulb, and then a hunter spawns, right? And it's like a simple thing. And the hunters in themselves, like if you play Division 1, you will know what to expect. If you haven't, then it feels like you're playing a player, right? If you didn't know if you put a player name above a hunter, you'd be forgiven for thinking it is a player, apart from the fact they have more skills, so they're probably hacking. But like, the pursuit for that was really cool because we spent like the whole week just sort of like scouring the map, like looking through things, like trying to sort of look through all this ciphertext, trying to find locations. We're still at the time of recording this, we're on 10 out of 12, and we spent a good portion of today like going around the map. If anyone's watching us in like a kind of third person perspective, they'd be like, these guys are idiots. We're going around shooting like light bulbs. We're going around like staring at walls, trying to like press buttons and like literally. It reminds me of like back in the day when I used to be a game tester, right? And like I'm literally like hugging walls, trying to like rush across and be like, is there anything to interact here? It's the most ridiculous thing, but I love it. And like that's the kind of thing. That's what makes the world feel so alive. And that's sort of one of the things that I think in these games are really important because you've got the core campaign, you've got the narrative, you've got all that stuff, but then for the people that want to go off and do all these random things, there's so many secrets, right?
Yeah, so many.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, because you guys did the other day, you can count like some secret missions, right? I mean, like how does that work out?
Yeah. So there was we were literally like just I think it was down by the Roosevelt Island. Like I'm trying my best not to spoil things, but like we were just like crawling around, like just messing around, really like going after NPCs. And next minute we had like a mission marker, and there was just this NPC downstairs, and she like gave us this mission to do. We still not even got all the way through it because it like sparked another secret mission, and it's just mad. It's like they've done the end game, they've done like all these cool missions, and they've gone, you know what, have some more stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool, and it's like you said, we could have easily like grinded to World Tier 4 and like been like max cap by now, but we've been like going off chasing hunter masks, like deciphering codes and stuff. Is really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing, right? I guess I've seen like a lot of people sort of saying this kind of thing as well, like on Twitter, and I kind of sort of agree. It's almost like a game like this, you almost kind of do want to take your time because there's so much stuff to do. Like there is no need to rush, and especially given that the way that the game is structured right now, like you can't get to World Tier 5 right now. It is time gated. I suppose that's one of those kind of things that, for depending on how you play these games, like I'm an end game player, right? I play games like these because I like getting to end game. So on one hand, it's a bit frustrating where you're like, all right, you can't get to World Tier 5, but then on the same time, it's quite nice because then it means that if there's got a staggered launch, it gives people a time to like gradually get through the game, work out, and then it kind of means that people can progress at like steady paces and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that like I've been like super like I think we've all kind of said the same kind of thing, but I've been super impressed like by the game this week. Like again, kind of going into it, with like my hype in check and just thoroughly enjoying the week, right? Like honestly, having like it's been a busy week because we've been working on a ton of videos. I think if you watched every video this week, I think we put out like 20 videos by the time you're watching this podcast, which has been a bit of a madness. But yeah. So like I suppose like rounding thing because obviously there's a few things coming up, right? So what do you guys want to see most like next? Because obviously there's a few things that we've got to look forward to. So like Taylor, let's start with you.
Mine obviously apart from the obvious, the raid. I'm looking forward to gear sets and how they work out.
Yes, yeah.
Because we've already got something similar to what gear sets were in the Division 1. We've got brand sets. And now we've got 6-piece gear sets. It's going to be interesting to see how they are. Because we've got a video actually on the channel explaining like how they work. But then we've not been able to like actually see how they work. So that'll be interesting. And I'm a big like theory crafter and like build nerd, I guess. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And what about you, Vest?
Again, obviously the raids, I can't wait to see how, like, I don't know, I assume there were raids in the first game.
There were not, no.
Oh,
so so that was
okay.
so that's the thing, like, that's
the
where
boats.
they had, like, incursions in the first game, right, which they never marketed them as raids, but we're kind of, as players, we were like, oh, are they going to be raids? And incursions were not people's favourite thing, let's put it that way, right?
I would compare them to strongholds that we have now.
Yeah, incursions were basically strongholds, right? Yeah. So, but I think when they were sort of first announced, like everyone was like always because when you set the precedence from like other games, when you think about like it's a looter shooter, Destiny had raids, therefore Division's gonna have them. But yeah, I'm incredibly like interested to see what they do with it because the one thing that I really want to see them do is. Because the one thing that like incursions did have, they had a few mechanics, right? They didn't have crazy mechanics. I'm not talking like raid mechanics or anything like that. They had a few things to do, and I really want to see what they do with actual raids because I feel like that's one of the things that with the incursions were lacking, and that's what I want to see they do because I feel like if the raids come out, like the game is in a great state right now, but if the raids come out and they're basically just like a longer stronghold. That's not going to be cool, right? I want to see mechanics, and I think it's there's a lot you can do. Even though the game is it's a lot easier if you have something like Destiny, and you can be like, oh, this raid boss is an alien with 3 heads, and one of the heads disappears each phase. Like, okay, cool, fair enough. It's grounded in reality, so you've got to do like more stuff like that. But there's still a lot of things you could do, right? So I'm definitely keen to see like that's going to be a big thing for me, especially considering they're 8-player as well, right? I mean, that's going to be mad.
Yeah. Gonna have to get a communication on point for that.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm just wondering, like, what are we going to be fighting that 8 well-armed, well-trained soldiers wouldn't be able to take down easily? Like, if it's going to be a singular boss, is it going to be a mech?
Well, we already know where it is, which is the Washington airport.
Yeah. So I was thinking perhaps we may see some aeronautical.
Oh, you and your planes again?
Yeah, me and my planes. Absolutely adore planes, but yeah.
I mean, that would be cool. I hope it's something like that makes a lot more sense because if, as you say, if it's 8 well-trained agents shooting a guy in body armor, man, like that can't be taken seriously, man. Like really, like we need to find like I honestly, I mean, we use some of the examples back when we spoke about incursions in like Division 1. We're talking about like you could have like raid mechanics. But like factor it around, like one of them was based, I think it was like in like a sewer, and you can make it so that in like a conventional thing, like wow, there'll be like things where something happens on the ground, you have to move. You could do that in Division in like a realistic manner, where like the water starts to flood, and like suddenly you have to get out of the way. So you can do things again, grounded in reality, that kind of allow for those mechanics, even if it doesn't involve like big fire on the floor, right? So yeah, I'm very interested to see. I mean, I had a chance to interview a couple of developers beforehand, anyway, and they have said the raids are supposed to be raids, right? So there should be mechanics and stuff. So yeah, very interested for that. But I guess for the time being, there's we have to kind of wait and see, right? So
Indeed.
I think it's so I don't know if you guys got any sort of like random thoughts, but I think largely speaking, that's kind of it, really. You guys got anything else you want to add, or?
No, I think we covered like some of our gripes, and to be fair, there's not many apart from like a few bugs and stuff, but that's nothing compared to what we've dealt with before. The things we enjoy, like, so yeah, I'm pretty content with.
Yeah,
fair,
for sure.
fair,
I mean, only thing I would add is this certainly sets the bar for me for
Yeah.
future Lewis shooters. The collectible game, like that we were talking about, is usually only really even seen in single player games. So just even for multiplayer games in general, I love the secrets and the collectible.
Yeah.
So it's set many bars in my books. Yeah.
Definitely. Fair enough. Well, there you guys have it. That's our rundown so far. Bear in mind, this is obviously based on, like, again, at the time of recording, like 4 solid days of playtime. So, you know, there's these games obviously evolve, you know, like whether of course, you know, we encounter more things, you know, in the coming weeks that, you know, change things and sway things, but at least initial impressions, that's basically what we have to run with. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Of course, massive shout out to Taylor and Vess for joining me.
Thanks.
Remember that you can listen to this on iTunes and Spotify, and I'm trying to sort out Google Play as well. So maybe by the time this is up, either way, point is, it's also available in audio format. So if you guys have been enjoying the podcast, but you want to listen to it on your commute to work, links to that will always reliably be below the video. So hit that up, subscribe to it, drop us some feedback if you're enjoying it. And of course, we'll be back next weekend with another podcast about something else. You'll find out next week. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Peace out.